Hey, what is going on? It is 12 noon on Friday, which means it's time for this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Christman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here live every Friday, 12 noon Eastern time, to help you mastermind to grow your real estate business. And what we're talking about today is standing out. What you want to remember is the riches are in the niches. The riches are in the niches. So if you haven't already carved out a niche, you're missing out on being rich. So that's what we're here to talk about today. How it is you could identify your niche and really take advantage of that in the real estate space so you stand out. Because there's a lot of people with a real estate license, but at the same time, everybody needs a place to live. So obviously there's going to be a lot of people with a real estate license, and this is true for any business that you're in. So this isn't even just applicable to real estate like we're talking about today. If you don't have a niche to stand out and really tie into your target audience, you're just going to blend in with the crowd and no one's going to be lining up to do business with you. Whereas when you've carved out that niche of what it is that makes you special and makes you connect at a deeper level with your clients, that's where you really start to have something that's powerful. So I'm really excited to bring today's show to you today. My name is John Christman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. You're watching State of Real Estate.
You are watching
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Christman. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every single Friday, 12 noon Eastern time, to help you talk about the technical side of the real estate industry. And what we're covering today is standing out. How is it that you stand out? What is it that you've got to do to be able to tap into? So this is something I always like to talk about. So if we take the Tampa Bay area, so you take the Tampa Bay area, which, here we are, Tampa Bay area. I think the demographic they use for the Tampa Bay area for like the Nielsen whatever category is something like this, that this is the Tampa Bay area. So that whole area, Tampa being here, Pinellas being here, Pasco being up here, I think part of that's included. Sarasota down here is included. I know that's not the best drawing. That maybe looks like some like deformed like cow udders, but imagine that's Tampa. And this Tampa Bay area, how many people do you think live in the Tampa Bay area? Well, according to that statistic, which I don't know exactly how much of this it really encompasses here, but it's 3 million people. And it continues to grow every single day. But that's a huge number, 3 million. We put the zeros in all that and we got 3, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. 3 million people. So, a lot of people, they like to advertise their real estate business, and that's a great thing to do as you start to scale your business, is to advertise it, to start adding fuel to the fire, to start getting people lined up to use you, and that's really about building the long-term business. And let's say we wanted to advertise to all 3 million of these people. Now, you probably already are saying, well, that's a lot of people. And we're going to narrow this down a little bit, but stick with me here. So let's say if we try to hit these 3 million people, and we want to, send them a postcard or something. And I like to use the postcard example because it's an easy thing to understand. You want to put a postcard in the mail. Let's say it costs 50 cents between your postage, you're getting maybe some special bulk mail rate and the cost for the actual card. Let's just assume it's going to cost 50 cents. Maybe you get it for slightly less, maybe it's slightly more. We'll just say 50 cents for example purposes. 50 cents for that postcard means that you're going to spend $1,500,000 trying to reach these 3 million people with one postcard. And how much business do you think one postcard is going to get you? Well, you send it to 3 million people, you might get lucky a little bit, but especially when we scale this down to a smaller scale, to a more affordable budget where you're not trying to market to the entire Tampa Bay area, even then it's going to be a significant cost. Let's say we dial into maybe just Tampa. Maybe just like the Tampa city limits. And I want to say there's we'll call it 150,000 people within the Tampa city limits. It might not even be that much, who knows, I might be completely off, but let's say 150,000 people. Wherever it is that you're watching from, let's say that you dial in that you want to reach 150,000 people. So we just had that 3 million example that we gave up here. It's going to cost us 1.5 million. You could probably already figure out what this math is going to be for 150,000 people. To send that one 50-cent postcard, a postcard, just one postcard, and it only costs 50 cents, that's $75,000 to send a postcard to 150,000 people. So that's still probably out of your reach, and that really is, I mean, you shouldn't just be sending out one postcard. If you've watched our videos we've done before on farming and things like that, we talk about narrowing down to a much smaller audience, because it's not about just sending one postcard. You get lucky if you get any business off of sending one postcard or one of any type of advertisement. We want to narrow this down even further to something where we could afford to not just send one postcard, but send a year's worth of postcards, sending one postcard a month, every month for a year. So like 10 to 12 postcards, really 12 if we're doing this once a month. So we've got to narrow this down even further. So we can't hit 3 million people in the Tampa Bay area. We can't hit 150,000 people within the Tampa City limits. So we narrow this down even more. And let's say now we're narrowing this down to 1,000 people. With just one neighborhood, or maybe a slightly larger neighborhood, maybe a couple of neighborhoods, maybe a handful of neighborhoods. 1,000 people is not a lot of people. 1,000 households essentially we're sending to. But at 50 cents each, that's still costing you $500. So how do we narrow this down even more? Well, you might even look now at a single neighborhood, and when you're farming, especially when you first start out, you want to start small, because if we're going to do this, let's just say 10 times to keep the math easy, 12 times we got an extra $1,000. But basically, we'll do it off of 12 because we'll say monthly for a year. So if we do 12 months at $500, that's $6,000. Which, depending where your business is at, you might be willing to invest $6,000 in advertising in a year. And now this shouldn't probably be the only advertising, just sending these postcards. You also want to back this up with digital advertising, with Google pay-per-click, with Facebook, with Instagram ads, with all that stuff, so you have omnipresence, so you're everywhere all the time to those 1,000 people. But notice how, and just let's talk about narrowing this down. So we went from, hey, we can't even afford to send out. I mean, if you're able to afford to send, and again, if we're doing this, if we sent out 10 of these postcards, that's $15 million. So I really appreciate it if you're watching this show where you've got a marketing budget of an annual marketing budget of $15 million, but let's assume you don't have a marketing budget annually of $15 million. Even $6,000, especially when you're first getting into advertising, that's a lot. So again, you might need to cut this down even further. Instead of maybe hitting 1,000 people, hey, why don't we start out with 500, because that takes our per postcard cost down to just $250, and that turns our $6,000 into $3,000. So now when we're advertising just to 500 people, now that's way smaller than 3 million. But again, the focus here is to define your niche so you could stand out in that niche. You got to spend, like we talked about, 15, 16, 20 million dollars to stand out among 3 million people. But you don't need 3 million people. You probably wouldn't know what to do with 3 million people. An entire brokerage even wouldn't know what to do with 3 million people that are lining up to do business with them. So you might not be able to stand out here, but when you develop and carve out your target, your niche, you're able to stand out, because you're able to start to develop this omnipresence. And again, if you've got to cut that down even smaller, do it, at least to start out. And look, this is just one aspect of it, is how it relates with advertising and how your marketing dollars will go so much further. Because if we took that same $3,000, we could send one postcard to 6,000 people. But what would be better? 6,000 people getting one postcard, or 500 people getting 12 postcards over the course of a year? This is what's going to get you more business, hitting the same people again and again and again, because again, that's where you start to get the recognition, the omnipresence, where you start to show up for them and you start to stand out. You're just standing out in that neighborhood, but hey, that's where you start out with. You start out by standing out in just one neighborhood. Or I want to switch gears of this a little bit to also touch on something that's going to help you more without spending any advertising money. And that's standing out among people. So I'd venture to say that you have something unique about yourself. Something not real estate related as well, because that's not unique. There's tons of people with a real estate license, and that's not how we're going to connect with people. Because other realtors, other people with a real estate license don't need our service. So what is it that you do? Maybe that you're in some sort of club or some sort of organization or some sort of league or something where you meet with other people and you have people that are friends. You should carve out this niche not just for farming and advertising, but also prospecting. So we've talked about episodes before of prospecting versus marketing. And prospecting, this is where you're directly going to people, where you're trying to have face-to-face conversations with them as opposed to sending them something in the mail or having something show up in their Facebook feed or anything like that. They're both great ways to generate business, and they both have their pros and cons and different ways about going about them. But especially when you're first starting out, you might not even have just a $3,000 budget for advertising, and that's okay. And I don't even recommend that you start with advertising because, again, that money will go really quick. You might misspend it, and you're not going to appreciate the leads that you're getting when you're just spending money to get it. Whereas when you're prospecting, you're feeling and seeing the work that you're putting in. Now, when I say prospecting, you might think about cold calling or door knocking, and those are absolutely ways to prospect and just going out and meeting cold people. But let's say you do go knock on somebody's door. What do you have in common with that person? Not much other than they have a house and you might be able to sell that house if you hit it right at the right time. So I'm not here to knock on door knocking because it's a great way to generate business, but I completely understand if you're apprehensive to going out knocking on people's doors. As outgoing of a person I may be, and I've done my fair share of door knocking, I wouldn't want to do it, so I get where you're coming from. Now, if you love door knocking, great, keep doing that. But developing connections with other people through similar interest will help you develop a niche, which will help people in that circle know who you are and that you practice real estate. So again, getting back to that question of what is it about you that makes you unique? What do you do that, and not completely unique, not separate from everybody else, but unique, but still where there's other people that do the same thing. And this might just be something as simple as going to the gym. Maybe you like to go to the gym. Maybe you already go to the gym. And when you're at the gym, maybe you're already like there talking to other people. And this is a great way to meet new people. And don't worry about immediately trying to get business, because no one wants to be friends with the person that says, hey, you got a house to sell? Here's my card. Let me sell your house. Ah! No one wants to be friends with that person. No one wants to connect with that person. And they probably don't have anything to sell right now. And so you don't want to just go to the gym and just go approach all kinds of people and say, hey, do you got a house to sell? But, be there in the gym and maybe work out a little bit, but then maybe offer to spot somebody or offer to help somebody out with something, or just strike up a conversation, whether that's in the locker room or whatever the case may be. So you build a relationship, and that relationship will eventually lead to business either through that person or through a referral. But you want to increase your network. So your network is very important if you want to try to not spend advertising dollars. Now, if you spend advertising dollars, you don't necessarily need to develop a network. So if you're not a people person, if you don't like talking to people, that's where advertising is going to be probably something you enjoy better. But this will not work as well as developing direct conversations. This will be much more expensive in dollars as opposed to the time it takes, especially when you're first starting out. Now, eventually you get to that point where you only have so much time, you have only so much people that you can meet per day, so that's where you leverage something like advertising to start meeting people. But maybe it's you going to the gym, or maybe the dog park. Let's say you have a dog, and there's all these dog parks, and you go take them to the dog park. And while your dog's running around frolicking with the other dogs, you strike up a conversation with the other dog mom and dads at the dog park. And the goal here is just to meet new people, to introduce yourself, to maybe have a business card that you give them, maybe ask them for their phone number. And so that way you could be in control of the conversation with them. But that's another thing. So maybe it's the gym. Maybe it's the dog park. What are some other places that you find yourself that have nothing to do with real estate, but where there's people that you meet that have similar interests to you? Because when they have similar interests to you, you already connect. You already connect based on your love of exercise, based on your love of your dog. Maybe there's like I don't know, like a coffee shop isn't a great example there because usually people are just going in there to get their coffee and get out, but maybe you like hanging out at coffee shops, and maybe you see other people who like hanging out at coffee shops, and then maybe that's your people. Or again, maybe you're in some sort of club, maybe you're in a bowling league and you like to bowl, or maybe play softball, or what? Maybe you're in a church. Get more involved in these extracurricular type of activities, the things that are outside of real estate, because again, that gets you meeting people. And the more people that know you, the more people that can do business with you. Now again, this is very different than when you're just advertising for business, because when you're advertising, you're going more directly for trying to generate business directly off of your advertisement. Whereas when you're prospecting, especially in ways like this about networking, and again here, the goal isn't to find business right now. I mean, really the goal is to find business right now, but that's not what's going to happen with every single person. So ultimately you get lucky and you do eventually hit that person that needs business right now. But ultimately this is all about building your long-term business and building your long-term success, building this towards something ultimately where this will generate business. It's just about establishing relationships with more people so more people know you. Because if you think about it, how are you going to do business with somebody who doesn't know you? That's the one way to basically eliminate the possibility that you'll do business with them, is that they don't know you. If they don't know you, they can't flow you. That's a little Grant Cardone thing. If you guys follow Grant Cardone, he loves to say that. If they don't know you, they can't flow you. And that's absolutely true. Now again, they might not be doing business today with you. This might not be immediate business that you're getting, but you're building a relationship, and it's either going to be through them or maybe through a referral, but they need to know who you are, number one, and then number two, they also need to know that you're in real estate. And that all starts out with, again, just making that personal connection. So maybe as you're at the dog park or whatever, or at the gym, and you struck up a conversation with them, and say, oh, that's my little Fido over there. Oh, what's your dog's name? What type of dog are they? Oh, that's so cool. Awesome. Yeah, cool. What do you do for the work for, by the way? And notice how you don't go straight into telling them, hey, I'm a realtor. Do you need a realtor? Because that's just going to scare people away. But you're just striking up a conversation. Say, hey, what do you do for work? And then a lot of times they're going to turn it around on you and say, well, how about you? Say, oh, well, I'm in real estate. Oh, wow, really? That's interesting. Yeah. Now notice how they're so much more interested in what you said because you were first interested in what they do. And so that's all this is about. And look, even if you don't get to mention that you're in real estate, at least you made a connection with somebody. Now again, this isn't going to get you immediate business, but this is something you should try to do on a daily basis, because if you make a habit out of meeting new people, that's going to start to build your network. That's going to get more people to know who you are. And that's step number one, get them to know who you are. And then step number two, get them to know you're in real estate. And next step number three, get business from them. So that's really the 3 steps that you want to go about to try to use networking to generate business. Now again, this is going to be a lot longer term, and most agents don't want to do this because this doesn't get them immediate business. And hey, look, if you're brand new in real estate and you need to find business, this isn't the way you're going to find business right away today, unless, again, maybe you do get lucky and you do get business right away today. So finding business right away, if you need a deal now, that's where you go more into direct type of prospecting, where maybe you're doing door knocking or cold calling or whatever the case may be, maybe some seminar for home ownership, or you're doing a seminar on investment real estate or something like that, where you just, when I say seminar, you might think of this big elaborate thing, but really you could just hold a little class in the conference room of your broker's office. You just hold a little workshop. A workshop might be a better term. A workshop of how you could own your first home. And that could maybe bring in some people. And these are more direct methods of prospecting, because this is more related to real estate and a need for real estate. And that's something that's going to get you business immediately, but you don't want to get it stuck in the cycle of having to do that again and again and again without really growing your network wider. And that's what developing your niche is all about. And you want to think about that. What is it about you that makes you unique, that brings you to a group of other people? Again, whether that's the gym, whether that's the dog park, or maybe your church, or maybe some sort of sport or something like that it is that you do. And this is where it's cool, because this is things that you enjoy doing. You might enjoy going to the gym, or taking your dog to the dog park, or going to your church, or going to your club, or going to play whatever sport it is, to go bowling, or whatever the case may be. So you get to enjoy these things, but you could also tie your business into this as well. Again, this is more indirect. This is a much more indirect method of generating business, but you establish connections, which that's step number 1. Then step number 2, getting them to know you do real estate. And then step number 3 of ultimately getting business from them, either from themselves or through some sort of referral. Look, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about really carving out your niche and really using that to generate more business for your real estate business. So stick with us. I'm John Christopher. You're watching State of Real Estate. Have you completed your post-licensing education yet? Look, I know you're probably thinking, hey, it's not my renewal deadline, I don't need to do post-licensing yet, but look, here's why you want to do post-licensing as soon as you've got your real estate license, as soon as you're able to take post-licensing. It's not just another course about arbitrary laws that you're never going to use again. It's about real-world, usable topics that'll help you grow your real estate business, to help you take it to the next level. Look, let me ask you this one question. If this course helps you close just one deal, if you get one extra deal from post-licensing, is it worth the investment? I'd say it is. We get paid pretty well, so one deal means a lot of money. Check out postflorida.com. That's postflorida.com for the full details about post-licensing. State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate. Hey, welcome back to this week's episode of State of Real Estate. My name is John Christopher. The show is brought to you by the Tampa School of Real Estate. We're here every single Friday, 12 noon Eastern Time, to help you mastermind, to grow, and develop your real estate business so you make more money. Because what's the point of getting a real estate license if you're not making money? Even if you're really in it, to help people and make the world a better place, it takes money to do that. So you've got to at least make some money, even if you don't pay yourself any of that money, but you're probably in this to pay yourself some money. And while you're at it, why not make more of it in the process? Because once you get started with this, it's more difficult to make a little bit of money. It's very difficult to just close one deal a year and survive off that one deal a year. Even if that's like a $10,000 commission check from that one deal, you don't have any system, you don't have any processes, you don't have any flows in place. So it's much easier to close 10, 20 deals a year once you start to get a rhythm of this stuff. That's where it starts to really seem easy, where you're just basically doing the same thing, just with different people. But before you get to that point of where you're able to be closing 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 deals a year, you need to be known by more and more people. You want to make sure people know who you are. And we could do that through advertising. That's probably the most indirect way, but again, that costs money. It costs money. This is very scalable. I mean, we could go all the way up to hitting 3 million people. It's just going to take more money for us to do that. So this is very scalable, whereas if we're, just networking, and you could really meet a couple of people every single day, whether this is just you're waiting in line at Starbucks even, and you just strike up a conversation with somebody. Now, again, this might not be the most direct way to get business, and that's why maybe holding an open house or doing door knocking or even cold calling or things like that, that's going to not be advertising but more direct of grabbing business today with that. But who knows? These people that you meet, you might just get lucky. Maybe all the stars are aligning in your favor where that person that you talk to is like, hey, you know what? Crazy. I have a house. I was just talking with my spouse this morning about selling it. Funny that I met you. It must be fate. They'll think it's fate when really it's just, oh God, finally, after the 100 people that I've just met over the past couple of weeks, finally I've got somebody that wants to do business. And you will come across that. Again, don't count on that. That ultimately is the goal, to get business from these people. But don't count on every single person it is that you're meeting ultimately going to be business. But you do this enough and you will discover business just from these random people that you meet on a day-to-day basis. Again, whether this is just that you're doing, you're in some sort of sports league at church or whatever it is. So think about what it is that makes you unique. Maybe it's the job that you're already at. Maybe you're transitioning into working real estate full time, or you're just doing this part time right now. Take advantage of all the connections you have at your current workplace. Who it is that you already know, that you could, again, leverage those connections. So number one, they know you. Number two, that you're rebranding yourself, that, hey, I've got my real estate license and that's ultimately what I'm going to do. I could help you out, getting them to know who you are. And then number three, getting business from them. So you could already take advantage of that, your current workplace, your current coworkers, and use them as a great source of leads. And it doesn't have to be them. Maybe they've got a friend or a family member that needs some real estate. They won't know to refer you if they don't know you're in real estate. And they won't know you're in real estate if they don't even know you in the first place. So that's the whole point of, again, getting out there, meeting more people, trying to meet new people every single day, increasing the size of your network. You've heard the saying before that your network is your net worth. And there's a few ways to build your network. You could just spend money to get more people to know you. That works as well. That's very scalable. But there's a lot to this to make sure this is done effectively to where you're able to get a return on your investment. But that's a great way to meet new people. But even better as we get to more direct back and forth conversations. You having a face-to-face with somebody is always going to be better than even the greatest advertisement that you ever make. So leverage that, especially if you're starting out in real estate. Don't worry about the advertising. Think of how you can meet more people. And depending how likely it is that these people are going to need real estate, like if you're calling for sale by owners, if you're doing cold calls to for sale by owners, you have extremely high odds that you're talking to people that need a real estate professional because they're already trying to sell their house. So almost every person that you talk to is a need of selling a piece of property. Versus if you're just randomly meeting people at the gym or Starbucks or whatever, know that it's going to take a lot more people that you meet to find somebody that will immediately need business. But remember, every single person that you meet, you want to nurture those relationships because eventually, someday, either themselves or they'll have a referral to give you if you nurture those relationships. So again, try to carve out your niche, because if you're just trying to go out there and stand on the street and talk to 3 million people, they're probably just going to say, no, I don't need it, bye, thank you, and just keep walking. But if you're already connecting with these people on a more personal level, you already have a connection, you already have something that's in common with them, and they're already going to like you because maybe it's at the dog park, and maybe they don't even care for you, but they love your dog. They love your dog, and by proxy, they end up liking you or tolerating you or whatever the case may be. So when you have these commonalities with people, you immediately connect, and that connection, that trust is huge when we're trying to help people with the biggest purchase of their life. So figure out what your niche is. That's your to-do after watching this video here, because if you don't implement this information, then you're not going to end up there's no benefit to you taking in this information. So implement that. Try to figure out what your niche is and how you could lean more into that. Again, whether that's your church, going to the gym, going to the dog park, going to some sort of sports or some sort of club or some sort of group that you go to, how can you lean more into that to develop connections with more people? That's number one. And that's all you should really worry about right now, is just developing the connections with those people. Because eventually they will figure out that you're in real estate. And that's probably because you're going to tell them or they're going to ask what you do, or some point they're going to figure that out. So priority number one is just getting more people to know who you are. So do that. Figure out what your niche is, lean into it, and start meeting more people. Look, that's all the time we've got for today. So thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit that little bell icon so you get notifications whenever it is that we go live, as well as all the videos that we put out on a daily basis, so you don't miss out on any of this free information we're leaving for you to help you build your dream real estate career. At the Tampa School of Real Estate, your success is our success. So we want to see you succeed, because that's how we succeed. So give us a call if there's anything we could do for you. If you need to get your real estate license, complete post-licensing, continue education, you want to get your broker license, maybe you want to get in on the sales training platform that we're building out right now. Either way, give us a call, 813-333-2676, 813-333-2676. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next week.
The most powerful tool to study for your real estate exam is the Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate. We've used our years of experience in preparing students for the Florida real estate exam to bring you the most powerful exam study tool available. In the Question Simulator, you'll be able to go directly to a particular unit so you can focus on the sections where you need the most practice. We have also included the percentages of each unit so you know which units are the most important for your real estate exam. Every question will immediately give you detailed feedback, which is almost always more important than the question or the answer themselves. After completing all the questions in a particular unit, you can go through question by question and review any that you've gotten wrong. You could also print out a report at the end of each quiz. The Question Simulator from Tampa School of Real Estate is 100% mobile compatible, so you can practice with test questions anywhere you have your phone with you. Enroll now at questionsimulator.com and get ready to pass your exam.
State of Real Estate. Every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Grow your real estate business. You're watching State of Real Estate.